NoDQ Galaxy, to a brand new edition of the NoDQ Review number 189. I am Virtue, the moderator, and we are getting so close to episode 200, which will be later this summer. And on episode 200, you, the NoDQ Galaxy, in the chat will super chat as the moderator for the entire show, giving us the topics to talk about. So that's going to be a fun one. But first, we must do several more shows, including number 189. And, of course, this week's elite panel of NoDQ consists of Aaron Rift, Walter Cruz is back, Noah Foster is back. Good to see you, Noah. And making his debut on the review, James. I think he is a AEW guy, if I stand corrected. James, how's it going, man?
It's going good, man. A lot of people, even though you don't remember it, and I don't really give a damn, remember a Twitter spat we had ages ago. So there you go.
First of all, let me ask you something.
Go ahead.
Do I follow you?
I think you might. I think you actually might. Yeah, okay. I think we follow each other on Twitter.
I want to make sure I didn't block you. You know what I mean?
Because I block
people, and
we're
then
all
I do that
set.
Okay. Like I do that whole process. If I block them, but they're a civilized person and not a troll, they can get a hold of me through an email, and we can patch things up. Because that's the only way I can regulate the trolls. Anyway, good having you on, and I'll be coming back to you shortly.
Cool.
Walter Cruz, welcome back. You were kind of out of action last week. How are you feeling?
I'm feeling good. I'm glad to be back, and thanks for having me.
Absolutely, and thank you for the $2 super chat.
Yeah, you're so short and to the point. You want to start talking about these topics. I see how it is. And always, Noah Foster. He is the Simon to my Garfunkel, or the Garfunkel to my Simon. What's up?
Oh, not much. It's good to be back here with you, gentlemen, to discuss all sorts of things wrestling. And shout out to my ATW crew on Twitter. It's been a nice, simple, solid day. Watching NXT UK, got some work done, and looking forward towards the conversation ahead.
Cool. And, I'll be back to you shortly. Aaron Rift, what's going on over in NoDQ World? Obviously, we all know we follow NoDQ. We go to the site. We look at the tweets. What's up?
Doing pretty good. Looking forward to tonight's discussion. And by the way, nice Bryan Danielson t-shirt you got over there. I like it.
Yeah, I have my two Virtue shirts over there, or NoDQ shirts that I rotate, and I just didn't want to wear one tonight. We're going with the classic white tee.
All right.
Love it.
Sounds
good.
It
is getting hotter.
Yeah, it is.
You ready to get the show on the road?
Yeah, I do have one thing to say, though.
Yeah.
No Robbie Vice. I did say he was probably going to be back this week, but no Robbie just yet. However, I can let you guys know that Robbie is coming.
Uh-oh.
That's right.
Uh-oh.
Robbie.
The bear of the NoDQ world.
I was about to say, like,
fun times ahead.
Yes.
Why do I get a feeling this is like some alter ego that I don't know about? I'm the new guy here, so.
It's I think it's going to be the same old Robbie to me. I think he's just trying to change. He's trying to separate that Virtue Vice thing. Whatever. That's fine. We'll see how that goes.
But you know what?
He's welcome back anytime.
Robot Robbie, regular Robbie. He's got some evil. He got different characters.
Domo arigato.
And anytime Robbie's not here, we have to ask, where's Robbie?
It sounds like a harder question than where in time is Common San Diego.
Shout out to Colin the Cleaver Andrew in the chat. I saw him. He's probably working tonight. I cannot wait till he's back on the show. Obviously, that'll happen down the road at some point. But the first topic, gentlemen, we're going to talk about what should WWE do, not with this rumored, brand split ending or continuing. Who cares about that? What should they do with the Women's Tag Team Championship? Like, obviously, we know what happened with Sasha and Naomi, and they're going to be vacant for a while here. They're going to do a tournament, whatever they're going to do. But should they really take these things seriously or just make them fade off into the sunset? And it's laughable for WWE to take any tag team seriously other than the Usos and for a while there, the New Day. But I'm going to come over to you, James. Can this be salvaged with this whole Sasha Naomi thing? Or are these belts classified as basically like a 24/7 title. Like, you know what I mean? Like the way we think of that. What do you think?
Well, this might be a hot take, but I'm actually in agreement with you on this because, I mean, at this point, I mean, not that I know what your answer is going to be, but I know what my answer is, and at this point, it's a crock of S word. Like they mean nothing. They're treated like nothing. They've been treated like nothing for ages. And don't get me wrong, would I love to see the women's tag team divisions taken seriously? Absolutely. They should have taken it seriously loads of times. I remember there was the Royal Rumble this year, in fact. I actually watched the Royal Rumble for the first time in like 7 years. Fully through. And the Women's Rumble had about 7 or 8 teams just in that alone, and neither of them were formed or brought back. And that's how I knew they didn't care about this division. And then they just threw Sasha and Naomi together. They walked out, and now what? We have like 2 legitimate teams, and one has an asterisk to it. Like, why do we even have this division? At this point, you might as well get rid of them and just leave the women's tag team division in the hands of NXT. Lord knows they're actually doing something with their division down there. You know, and I don't even watch anymore, but I'd much rather the women's tag team divisions be cared about over in NXT than just completely thrown to the wayside. If you're going to throw them to the wayside, don't even bother with the belts.
You know, I do have, I mean, they could get rid of them for all I care. Chances are they probably won't.
Right.
So what random team are they going to put together? You know, like Alexa Bliss and Liv Morgan. I mean, you know how it goes, right? Nikki Ash, is she going to drop? Maybe it could be her dropping the superhero gimmick and teaming back up with Alexa Bliss. What, Noah, what do you think here? I actually have my hot take, but I'll save it till after you guys talk. What do you think?
Well, when I look at women's tag team wrestling in general, I think the only company that seems to know how to handle it for the long run, and it was short term so far, is Impact Wrestling. And really, it feels like they've had a combination of 4 to 5 teams now that the Inspiration, the former Iconics, are retired. I was actually going through the WWE roster today and looking at the amount of talent on both Raw and SmackDown. They could do, honestly, probably, 4 teams on each. But then again, there's no chemistry among any of the competitors, it seems. I thought for a moment they were going to try some of Hurricane and Rosie type dealy with Doudrop and Nikki Ash, but I think that's going to fall a little bit to the wayside too. As James Hebert put it, really the only possible brand you could try and build some sort of women's tag team wrestling regime is this version of NXT, with the fact they were able to pull 8 women together in a breakout tournament. They already got a title match booked for the NXT 2.0 special, or premium line, but excuse me, botch, in your house. And also the fact that Toxic Attraction has been one of the most legitimate, longest reigning overall combined days total women tag team champions in WWE history. As far as Raw and SmackDown goes, these titles I don't think need to exist there. If they're going to try and build some sort of focus on women's tag team wrestling, I think they only should dedicate it in this version of NXT.
That's a good point. And, here's the thing. Their titles, and they have them. I mean, the 24/7 title is still running around on TV. So, they're going to end up putting them on somebody. Walter Cruz, welcome back. What do you think here?
Well, I think it's unfortunate, but there's not enough teams to even care about. And if you're putting a product out there and you yourself as the company aren't behind it and you don't give a damn about it, why should we as the consumer give a damn about it? I mean, at this point, to me, those titles are just a way for a little girl to tell their daddy to spend some money on some merchandise, and we got to give it to him. At this point, they're just toys. They're a way to sell merchandise, and there's not enough teams to care about. And if they don't care about it, why should we? And then, it's unfortunate, but maybe at this time, focus on your singles title. Maybe put more of an effort into building up that division and not putting these random teams that we can't get behind. Not only can we get behind any team, but once we do get behind, you break them up. So it's like, why would we want to invest in them? So you might as well invest in the singles title, maybe make that undisputed and do something with the singles women division and make us care about. I think that's why they're procrastinating now. They don't have enough teams to do this tournament. It's not that they want us to anticipate or wait with it. They don't even know what they're going to do with it. If they don't
Yeah.
care, why should we?
They literally only made a tournament just to spite Sasha and Naomi, and that's problem number one right there.
Exactly.
And
Exactly.
what I think, and this is such the WWE way, I could see them poaching some people they've released. If they come back, some people might not want to come back, but some people do. If the money's right, I could see them poaching somebody like the Iconics back. If they show, we're not going to do wrestling anymore, we're going away. Next thing you know, watch somebody like them shows up in the tournament, wins. To put released wrestlers back in there, that's such a slap to Sasha and Naomi. That's the WWE way. You can find out any former wrestlers that are available, bring them back, and put them in the tournament. I don't know. I have a gut feeling
at this
we're
point,
going to see somebody we haven't seen in a while in this.
I'd rather see a singles tournament to determine who's the contender to each singles title instead of a tag tournament. You don't have enough people to do a tournament.
I mean, Raw only has literally like 10 women, and SmackDown has like basically 7, and that's excluding your actual
Exactly.
SmackDown
So you got NXT people, or are you going to bring in some people for this tournament that you used
Who
to
knows?
have?
Maybe they'll bring in a kid from the crowd like they did with the men's tag title.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden,
I mean, you might as well. It means nothing. It means nothing. You might as well do that.
At this point. Yeah.
Seriously. Like, and here's the thing. You talked about the pettiness of WWE virtue. If they wanted to do it, if they wanted to bring in release teams, they would have by now. Like, that's how much I don't think they care. They just all of a sudden are now caring because Sasha and Naomi made the biggest stink imaginable, in some cases rightfully so. And, they just do nothing.
They're trying to take
Absolutely
advantage
nothing.
of now there's eyes on us. Oh, there's eyes on this tag. There's
eyes on the company.
Naomi made it controversial, and they made people pay attention to it, and they're like, oh, damn, we better do something with these titles now. That's all it is.
Bring in the Bella twins and then really cause a stir up.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, we'll see. WWE could either bring Sasha back and make her a female CM Punk, but would they let that happen? Probably not, because they want control. They don't want talent to say how to be booked. They want to tell the talent how to be booked. Aaron, some super chats came in, and what do you think here?
We'll go to Jerry Slaughter first. He sent in $5. Thank you, Jerry. He says, call me crazy, but I think in order to have a title, you should have to have a division. There is no WWE Women's Tag Division, let alone a singles one.
Thank you.
Exactly.
Thank
Gary's
you.
right. Gary's
That's
right.
why
Like I said, right now there's 2 challengers for the Raw Women's Championship, and there's none right now really for the SmackDown Women's Championship. They really don't have anything going on. Just a bunch of random moving parts. They don't know what to do with. It's like the extra components that you get from IKEA whenever you assemble furniture and you don't use, and you can't do nothing with them.
And that's why we get rematch after rematch after rematch after rematch after. How many times did Bianca have to fight Doudrop? Like, it's like they don't have a division, so they say we got to. I think at least 10 times we saw that match in a matter of a month.
I'll go ahead and get the extra statistic for you while you continue talking.
Yeah.
Thank you, cage match. Continue. Let's see here.
I actually think it's only like 4 or 5 times, but it feels like
several.
It just feels like I understand doing the house circuit where you get to know your opponent and you're fighting, because you're going to put them in a program. But they did it every Raw, it's just too much.
It was like
imagine
every
how many
Raw, to be fair. It was a Raw exclusive.
Yeah.
Let's see here.
All right.
Seth and Cody fought like 30 times, though. At some point, it's overkill.
There might be
We'll
more.
get ready for number 3.
We'll see. All right.
At the Red Crate of Hate.
Nick Lavin sent in a $7 super chat. Thank you, Nick. Says, simply not enough women on the roster to make the tag titles work, as well as 2 singles titles. Maybe if they combined NXT women, it might work.
There was a comment earlier where they said, "Oh, get rid of the tag team titles and the NXT tag team titles." I think it's the opposite. I genuinely think they should do it the opposite way. Get rid of the WWE women's tag team titles and just make it merged with the NXT tag team titles.
That's true.
Seriously.
At this point, if WWE was, I'm not saying they're going to, if they ever was going to do a Forbidden Door type thing, this is what you got to do. You got to bring women from other companies and start caring about
You
the
gotta
tag
evolve.
division.
You gotta
That's the only way
progress.
you're gonna add people. You got to evolve.
You got
Yep, you got to
NXT
evolve.
UK.
You got
You got
TNA.
all of this.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
by the way, it's not like they can't do it. By the way, they've Impact has more than shown they're willing to work with the WWE if they want to work with them, and I'm sure the NWA wouldn't mind the free publicity. And they have probably two of the best tag team divisions going right now. That's not saying much, by the way. Unless you're talking Stardom, which is just all women's wrestling anyway.
That's a whole different comparison there, James. Like CCW, a rising promotion here, that's an all women's promotion, building their women's tag team division through a tournament.
But
Shout
it's like
Renegade Twins.
When you get to the point,
5.
Go ahead. No. Oh,
No,
5.
It was 5.
Oh. When you get to the point where every week on this review or every week Aaron's got to go, wait, who's the champs again? Who's the tag? That it's a shame. Like we don't. How many times have we all said, wait, who was the champ? We almost forgot that it was Naomi and Sasha, or who was the champ.
That's how I am with AEW champions. Oh,
it's just like the IC of the United States. Like I sometimes forget that Theory is one champ and Ricochet. I forget which one of them has what belt sometimes.
I forget which title is on which brand as far as the IC title and US title go.
You might as well not even call them brands anymore. Who cares about that either?
Well, I guess the brand split that's been in place since 2016 is still going to be a thing, but as long as it comes to storytelling, they're going to still shift superstars between both shows. As far as I know, Raw has United States of Austin Fury, and SmackDown has Intercontinental with Ricochet.
Why do you need brands? You got all these undisputed champions. Just make everything one title and everybody fights. The champ
Maybe
can be
that's
on
the
both
long-term
shows.
plan, Walter. Maybe that's the long-term plan.
Well, I always said
WWE doesn't think long-term.
For the longest time, I always said that you should have one world champion, one tag team champion, have them be on both shows and keep the brand extension going, but only have the champions appear on
It worked.
both.
They did it before and it worked.
Yeah.
Well, Aaron, I know you got some more super chats, and we got to move on these topics. I mean, we're still on the tag.
Yeah, I'll sum this up real quick. I think they should just get rid of the women's tag team titles. The titles have been a joke pretty much since the beginning. If you're going to do a tournament, I have no interest in a 4-team tournament. If they're going to do it, do an 8-team tournament. Bring in Trish and Lita. Bring in the Bella Twins. I know not a lot of people like that idea, but you have to bring in some established teams and maybe a few NXT teams. And I don't have confidence that long-term it's going to work. So just get rid of the titles at this point. It's ridiculous. And I have not much else to say about it. So, yeah, I guess we can move on here and we'll see how things play out. I think WWE is just hell-bent on sticking it to Sasha and Naomi, and that's why they're doing a tournament. But I really think they should just get rid of the titles. Oh, and before we move on here, Nathan Banks sent in a $5 super chat. He says, with rumors of the brand split ending at some point, could we see more women on both shows? Maybe it would make sense to do the women's tournament.
Well,
what do you think of this?
You still have the same amount of women. So, I mean, it comes
the
down
problem.
to, again, how they utilize them. You don't have more bodies per se. You just have more leverage where you could put them or where you could use them or book them. Either way, they're already seeming to do that. I just don't think it's going to matter in the end.
Yeah.
I'm just waiting on Bailey to come back.
Yeah,
That's
me
definitely
too.
a huge part that's missing.
Anyways, I think we are caught up. Mr. Tito is here. He just wants bra and panties matches, Virtue.
Yeah, let's go back to 2003.
I never had a problem with that. Never.
None of us did.
And in today's society, a lot of people will have a problem with that.
Or those, what were those? Something in a pool match, mud or this or that.
Well, this is a segue.
Listen, man, I like both. So
speaking of bras and panties, I want to talk about Matt Riddle.
Whoa.
Riddle. It's funny. That's a thing too. Like in today's society, people getting accused of stuff. And could you imagine back in the 70s and 80s and even 90s, like if what happened on the road and all the stories and stuff and groupies and women, like fans don't even know. Like, and that's a thing too. To me, you're innocent until proven guilty. Women don't speak up. Well, speak up, right? I mean, seriously, what do you have to lose? So with that said, it seems like we could be at the beginning stages of the rise of Riddle. Randy Orton's out with a back injury. RKBro just lost the tag titles to the Usos, and we'll talk about the Usos in a little bit. Rumor is Riddle could get a title match against Reigns. It could happen at Money in the Bank, which obviously, I was kind of not surprised when Money in the Bank got pulled from a stadium to an arena. I mean, it's Money in the Bank. Like, WWE, go for the gusto, but I mean, unless you're in another country, if it's not SummerSlam, WrestleMania, and to a point Royal Rumble, I don't think you're going to sell stadium seats.
Right.
So everybody, Riddle. I've liked Riddle since, like, when he was in the Indies. I was like, who is this guy? I bought into him when he was in NXT. I know he's been controversial with the accusations, splitting with his wife. But the fact is, through all of that, WWE has him and they're pushing him on TV. Enzo never even got rehired. That guy sold merch. So I'd like to think, and WWE doesn't always do their background and their homework, right? They've slipped up several times, but I think I think Riddle is going to get that recognition. He's going to get a title match against Reigns. He's going to lose, but the fans like him. And will we get something out of this? Will he always be this cartoon bro stoner gimmick, or could the inevitable happen and he gets serious? Aaron, he showed a little bit of like a seriousness to a point on Raw, and I was trying to translate into what we had been talking about. Could he turn heel? Could he drop the accent and just speak like an actual badass fighter? I think he could if he wanted to.
Yep.
James, what do you think here? And you can even talk about the controversy that surrounds Riddle as well. Anything goes here on the review.
Well, I'm with you on. I'm not even against Riddle being pushed on like some snowflakes on social media. The guy was proven innocent. Let him freaking be. Anyway,
Amen.
That being said, now, Riddle is starting to go through character change. I think a lot of that does have to do with Orton, and being with Orton for as long as he's been with Orton. This is one of the very few things I'm invested in, because going into watching wrestling, well, specifically the WWE, even on a Big Five basis, I didn't think I was going to be invested in Riddle or the RKBro team, because when I first heard they did it, I thought it was freaking another makeshift team was my first thought. And everything that I've seen of them, they grew on me instantly. I've never seen Orton have as much fun as he has had when teaming with Randy Orton. And now he's going to be going on his own, avenging Randy Orton when everybody thought he was going to turn on him. And I think that's a great deviation from the typical WWE formula, which is, again, if they want to actually compete in the landscape of this oversaturated market of wrestling, they need to start doing the anti-WWE method, and this is just one of those methods. I'm for it. I can't wait to see what Riddle does with this.
Now, Noah, I question if Orton's legitimately hurt. Like, did we actually? I never, in wrestling, it's always a work unless it's proven to be a shoot. So this could just be a summer vacation for him.
Right.
It could be to develop Riddle, so when Orton comes back, they can, hey, I did it without you, or somebody, the obvious would be WWE would have Orton come back and beat Riddle up and turn on him and be the heel again, whatever, if Riddle's super over. Or they could do it the other way around to change it up. But we'll see. Maybe Randy is hurt. He's getting older. But what do you think here? I still think it's a test for Riddle to, like, I'm not saying, like, and Robbie and I at some point should have a debate about this, because he does not like Riddle. He doesn't even think he should be on TV. He thinks he'll never main event WrestleMania. Now, it's easier today to say he could, because all he would have to do is main event night one, and then I could say he main evented WrestleMania, right? Because if it's two nights. What do you think with the rise of Riddle? I feel this is his test. And my gut feeling always says, like, Vince McMahon likes this guy. He always liked that 90s Shawn Michaels backstage that we knew got away with whatever, could say whatever. And Riddle says some bold stuff about Goldberg, Lesnar, Reigns. I think he pops Vince, and his push on TV is directly related to because I think Vince McMahon likes him. But Noah, more importantly, you know what Riddle does really well? He's a great worker. He can work with anybody, any style. What do you think?
I think basically when you think about who could maybe be the next standard bearer of your company, because we got to consider who's going to be the next guy beyond Roman Reigns when he drops one or both titles. You got to think about the future of WWE. I think Riddle has literally been tested since Survivor Series 2019 on the first big stage he was on after he came up from NXT. Personally, for me, when I was going back through the RKBro, storyline and how it all began back in April 19th, 2021 with Proposal, and then we saw him use the RKO and then the Bro Derek used by Orton May 31st. For me, this always felt like Orton's done it all, but maybe he sees something in this guy too. And maybe like Vince, maybe he and Vince are working more closely than we think because of how long he's been in that company. They're trying to find that next top star too. I think Riddle could very well be that. He can definitely hold up with anybody in the ring, match their style and adapt to it, but he also holds a personality that people have come to connect with, whether goofy or whether serious when the bell rings. I recently rewatched Roderick Strong versus Matt Riddle back at NXT TakeOver 25. Still a great match to this day. For me, I think about what they might do as far as Riddle goes right now, what his test might be. Why not recall what happened with Randy Orton and Roman Reigns at SummerSlam a few years ago? That was a big feud, and that was the first big match that Roman Reigns really got over, too, on Riddle's best friend. Let's just call it what it is. And as we saw, Roman Reigns had Randy Orton in the guillotine on SmackDown. So, yeah, Riddle, it feels like right now he's looking for sympathy, but he's also looking for revenge. This would be a great long-term program you could build to be your main event at SummerSlam, especially if Money in the Bank now is no longer considered one of the big five because it's not going to be in a stadium. It's going to be in the arena, infinitely so. So for me, I think that the real test of fire will be Riddle versus Roman Reigns at SummerSlam. Now, whether or not Orton comes back on a sympathy game, because maybe the Usos get involved and it all breaks down, and then Riddle turns serious and betrays his friend, break in the stigma that we're like, Orton is friends with nobody. He always betrays them in the end. He's in it for himself. I think that'd be a nice trip for me. But personally, I think this is Riddle's first opportunity to rise high. And if done right, we very well could see Riddle involved at WrestleMania in the main event.
Now, look, no, I'm not saying this is going to be the next coming of Roman Reigns.
No.
When I say I could see Riddle get to the main event, we need a pool of main event players that can be rotated in a title picture at any given time. And if he can push merch, if he can appeal to kids, or turn badass and be like a cool MMA fighter, and he can be like that piece to put, just to have in your back pocket as a main eventer at any given time. That's what I'm saying Riddle can be, not the head of the company. So, Walter Cruz, what do you think with that NoDQ shirt
on? My biggest fear is that they don't get rid of that 420 stoner gimmick because he's moving. They got the RKBro 420 shirt, and it seems like it's moving. So that's my only fear with him because I want him to get as far away from that because there's too many RVD comparisons. He needs to get away from that and just be a
But, is that not okay? Because didn't Jericho have a period of time where you were like, hey, that's just another Shawn Michaels? You know what I mean? Is that?
Yeah. It's okay, but in the long term, it's going to hurt him because there's just too many. He doesn't fight RVD style. It's not the same. We already had that. I want to see something new. We never really had that big crossover star from MMA that looks like a badass besides Brock Lesnar. So I want to see Riddle do that. Right now, Riddle's he might win Money in the Bank. He might be one of the underdogs that we don't know. We don't know how far he pushed, and I would push him to that. Or this year there was rumors that he might have been the one to win the Royal Rumble. I mean, timing is everything. You got timing behind you. You got this coming up. What are we, 5-6 months away from the Royal? Maybe he can get this momentum, and maybe you never know. He wins the Royal Rumble, or he wins the Money in the Bank. That it's like you said. Maybe the Randy's not hurt, and this is just a test. And I think he's going to get up there.
Here's the thing with Riddle. When he was in NXT, he was a tag champ, right, with Pete Dunne.
Mm-hmm. Correct.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Chemistry, right? With Randy Orton, chemistry. And I know he had the U.S. title. Maybe he wasn't supposed to have it because of Keith Lee. But, he had it for a short period of time. Vince McMahon is obviously putting titles on him. So we'll see. Aaron, any super chats, any thoughts before we move on?
We do have a super chat from Johnny Boy. He sent in $5. Thank you for that. Says, don't understand why WWE went to a smaller venue for Money in the Bank. No matches have been announced. Add Cena and Lesnar, and boom, you can probably sell.
That's real? Are you kidding? I thought that was a rib. I thought that was a rib the whole time.
Wait,
oh my god!
Wait, the Money in the Bank moving to MGM Grand?
I thought that wasn't legit. Oh my god,
that's legitimate.
I've been a component.
Not the first time. It's not the first time WWE's done that. And let's face it, if they were moving a SummerSlam or a WrestleMania like they have in the past, WrestleMania 7, from a stadium to an arena, we got issues. They're moving money in the bank. Like, they got greedy. They should have never had that. Like,
right.
That's too greedy, in my opinion. And this serves them right. Like,
Mm-hmm.
and they still sold, like 20,000 tickets to it. That's an arena, right? So it's the right call.
I'm still an advocate or a component of them just having the money in the bank at WrestleMania. And if you want two of them, put one on night one for the men, put the other on night two for the women, and there you go. It doesn't need to be its own premium live event. Bring back the King of the Ring as a premium live event.
Yes.
Get rid of Money in the Bank as a premium live event and put that back in WrestleMania.
Yes.
Agreed.
And I had AEW fans on Twitter like, they're already having to, redact and they can't sell tickets. Okay. Let's see AEW do a stadium before you do any comparisons.
Yeah, right.
The two. Like, I'll leave AEW alone if people stop comparing them to WWE. Let them evolve on their own. And they have a stadium in Jacksonville that they have easy access to, but they know they're not ready to do that yet. But anyway,
the average fan just doesn't see it's extremely difficult to fill up a stadium. And I'm not favoring one company over the other, but it's extremely difficult.
The amount of stadiums they're trying to fill up. So anyway,
exactly.
All right. Yeah, I'll just briefly touch on this with the venue change. Like everything Virtue said, they tried to run too many stadium shows in the United States. They had the Royal Rumble earlier this year in a stadium. WrestleMania did not sell out. Like they're doing too much. And there's only so much disposable income that fans have. Even the wealthiest wrestling fans,
especially in this economy right now.
Yes. Yeah, for sure. And Money in the Bank pay-per-view. It's embarrassing because Cody Rhodes did that commercial at Allegiant Stadium. Nothing
in the stadium.
Yeah, I mean that was rough.
Film another one in the arena, right? I mean, remember WWE, film something new so we forget about the old. That's how they do it.
The plus to this, I'm a little intrigued, at least because I believe this is the first time WWE is doing a pay-per-view at the
MGM Grand. Yeah, this is the first one.
I think they always did the Thomas and Mack Center for their shows.
Yeah, so this would be the first time they're actually.
So like they're in a big arena where you have big UFC fights. They used to have big boxing fights, like
all the Halloween Havocs back in the day. Well, most of them.
Capital of the world.
Yeah. I've been there. That's where I saw Brock Lesnar's last fight, actually, before we went back to WWE. It's an old building, but it's a nice little venue. I like it.
Hopefully Brock Lesnar doesn't do another run-in and captures the Money in the Bank at the last minutes.
Speaking of Brock Lesnar's last fight, dude, he's fighting Braun Strowman in a pay-per-view, Alistair Overeem. He's wrestling now.
Yeah. That's crazy.
I was there in person at that Money in the Bank where Lesnar did that, and you guys didn't see it off camera. The way they had to set it up and the way you just knew it was something. And it seemed like Ali went too fast or something, and that's why he was like, uh-oh. When he was on the top of the ladder, the whole thing was just weird.
Anyways, let's get back to the main topic, which is Riddle. Psycho Jet Black sent in a $5 super chat. He says, my fear is that Riddle will be stuck in the mid-card like Dolph Ziggler and Cesaro and will be used to put over guys like Braun Breaker and Gable Steveson. He might.
I don't think if he can avoid injury, because I think Ziggler wouldn't be in the position he's in if he wasn't injury prone for a few years. If he didn't get that concussion, he might have been up there. I mean, eventually he would have went back down to a mid-card, but he would have had that title for a little while. So it depends on if he can stay injury free.
Riddle, I just know that he pops Vince McMahon backstage.
Yeah.
Yeah,
more than
I
normal.
see
And
that
he's not
too. I can
afraid
see
to
them in
talk
the
to him,
office.
and he's not afraid to say what's on his mind. And he still does what Vince McMahon wants.
Right.
That's good on Riddle's side to probably maybe get a title run at some point.
I can honestly see that
You know-
leading to the next premium live event in country redacted. Matt Riddle versus Goldberg.
What else is good about Riddle is the stuff he says off camera, like the stuff he said about Reigns or the stuff he said about Brock. So fans get behind that.
Yep.
Yeah,
That's true.
he's really good at
Positive
You know,
endorsement.
controversy creates cash, right?
Exactly.
I mean, I think Riddle is a made guy, and I'll just say my piece real quick here. Riddle is over with the fans now. I feel that he can potentially be a top guy in WWE. This will be a test, though, as you guys mentioned, going into Money in the Bank. I'm feeling it's going to be Riddle versus Roman Reigns, and it's probably going to be a filler match, but this is a big opportunity for Riddle to show that he can be a main event guy, that he can go out there with a more serious presentation. And I think he will do well. I think him and Roman Reigns will have a great match. And I think that even in defeat, his stock will go up from this. And I do feel that the whole Randy Orton injury angle is just to get him off TV for a little bit,
Yeah.
so Riddle can transition into that single spot against Roman Reigns at the pay-per-view. And then after Reigns wins, that's when Riddle is going to take his crack at Roman Reigns, probably at SummerSlam. And maybe after that, we'll start to see whatever happens next with RK-Bro. As I've said before, I would like to see Riddle be the one to turn heel on Orton and not the other way around, but we'll see.
Great.
I do think that before you make Riddle top, like at the top, you do have to do that one-on-one with Randy Orton. You got to let Orton
Yes.
put him over.
Yes.
Like it's just, it has to happen.
Yep.
Yes.
And they could have Riddle stay babyface and
They
always
can both
work
be
from
faces.
underneath like he does, and then make the comeback at the end because the fans get into that match. You know what I mean? That style of match. Where
They
the
could do
guys
face
get beat
versus
up the
face
whole
and just
time.
see who's better.
Yeah.
They could do that.
That's
Yeah.
a rare thing that they do, though.
Can I just make a suggestion since we're talking about one person turning heel on the other? Can we just like have an amicable split for once? Like, I think you got me invested in this team. I kind of
That's
don't
what I
want
mean.
it to end. Like, you don't have to have them team forever, but like do an amicable split and like have them
Exactly.
go their separate ways,
They-
but still be friendly or whatever.
They did it with, Sean did it where he turned heel on Hogan, but eventually he said, I just had to know. You could just do that with Riddle and Orton without turning any of them heel. Or Riddle could just say, I had to know who was better
Or-
out of us.
It could be like the New Day where one of them
Yeah.
gets drafted to the other show, and that's how they split.
I think
Yeah.
because Orton's always turned on everybody, and you can never he's
Right.
always been that Viper. The other way around in this instance just would be so bittersweet because it would literally be like a torch passing for Randy to Riddle. I don't know, but anyway,
It'll be
Aaron,
perfect because Orton used the F word. He does not say friend about a lot of people.
Yep.
The fact that he called him a friend, and that's going to be in the promo packet. I called you
Hell,
a friend. I called
dude.
you. That's going to.
I think Riddle pops Orton, and Orton, like we've heard rumors, Orton wanted this. So
Yeah.
that's nothing but good for Matt Riddle. All right, Aaron.
There's
anything
no
else before we
friends
go?
in the WWE, pal.
Right. Only in AEW and Ring of Honor where they have sportsmanship.
Yeah, pretty
Yeah,
caught
but
up on
Code
the
of
Super
Honors,
Chats, Aaron?
that's different.
Yeah, we're caught up.
All right, so we're going to stick to tag teams, but let's go around the horn now. The Usos are the undisputed, the unified, whatever tag team champions.
Wait a second,
And-
Virtue. I gotta call out Michael Wayne here. He's always
Okay.
talking smack in the chat room.
What'd he
So
say?
he's ripping into Dave Meltzer. He says Brad Shepard is greater than Dave Meltzer.
Oh, Lord.
And he says The Rock has
They're
no
both-
commitments until after WrestleMania 39. That's something that Brian Alvarez said. So apparently Brian Alvarez, who is working with Dave Meltzer, knows his stuff, but Dave Meltzer
Well, wait. Time out. We've talked about Reigns and Rock at a WrestleMania in Hollywood. I could have told you, Aaron, hey, Rock doesn't have anything on his schedule heading into Hollywood because the good assumption is that's why it doesn't matter if Alvarez said it, if Meltzer said it. I know Brad Shepard didn't say it because he doesn't know shit.
It's
But,
called
let's be
common
honest,
sense.
as
XFL
fans-
starting.
Yeah, as fans, we anticipate this match unless something just absolutely keeps The Rock from doing it. So
Yeah.
no dirt sheet coming out and starting to say like
Well,
we
what
already
did
knew.
Brian Alvarez get The Rock's official schedule, his planner, and it's like, oh, doesn't say
He's
anything.
saying what we all know. He's just presenting it on his platform to make it look official. Anyway,
Right.
that's just my opinion.
It's not official. I could have told you that, and I'm not an official, Donnie. All right, come on.
All right.
So we're gonna move
by the
on.
way,
Yeah.
Psycho Jet Black sent in a $2 super chat. He says, Herbert, could you sing Stand Back in the Vince McMahon voice?
Now you got to super
I
chat more
actually-
than that to get that man to sing. I'll tell you that right now.
No, I'll do it for $2. I don't care. You kidding me? I'm a shill. Let's go.
You sold out. You sold out. You sold out.
What are we doing here?
I actually, well, okay. We'll do it at the end. We'll do it at the end
Okay.
just to save time. How about that?
So James, I'm gonna come over to you. We're talking about the Usos being the undisputed, the unified, the tag champs, and they have all the gold. And of course, Roman has his titles in the Bloodline, and you got Heyman there, who is Heyman. What's next? What's next for the Bloodline? Is it another member? You can't really add any more titles unless you get another member, or is it just going to stay status quo and Roman will be the big deal for the big events, and then the Usos will kind of just be that Bloodline representation when Roman's not there? James, what do you think?
I think that at this point, it's probably the latter. Honestly, I'm surprised they actually pulled the trigger on them, considering everything with Naomi. I'm actually shocked they went this route. But I guess fair play. I mean, there was no other freaking team they were going to put both tag titles on.
And keep in mind, they're not putting those tag titles on Jimmy, on the Usos, because of Jimmy. They're doing it to make Reigns look even bigger. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I feel like, that's all it is. I think it was just a prop for Roman. That's really what it is. Much like the guy in NXT, what's his name, is probably going to be the prop with the mid-card belts. He'll have both of those, same deal. You know,
The Usos' little brother.
yeah.
Solo Sikoa.
Mm-hmm.
Now, Noah, if you want a female presence in the Bloodline, Naomi's not blood, but she's married to Jimmy. And if for whatever reason they can patch it up with her, that, like, why not? Like, bring her back and push her, because it makes the fans scratch their head. And WWE likes to do that. And it maybe is a big FU to Sasha, who might have instigated all this. And the way WWE operates, they are petty like that, because why not? Hey, bring Naomi back. Remember what they did with Jimmy? He did the DUIs, but yet he's still right there in the middle of all this, getting pushed.
I swear I was just thinking that, Virtue.
So, Noah, I'll come to you, Noah Walter. But Noah, what do you think here?
Actually, I was going to go even further than that. Out of nowhere with a name probably people forgot about. I was saying bringing that surprise and spite even Sasha and Naomi more, because I know Vince will do that, or Dollar-Nitis. I was thinking Simone Johnson, The Rock's daughter, which I believe that she is still signed to WWE, the Performance Center, but I think she's out injured. But I would have loved to see that as a major swerve brought into the Bloodline. But that being said, the Naomi thing does make more sense because, yeah, she's married to one of the Usos. As far as the Bloodline goes, it's an identity thing at this point. The Bloodline is revolved around one particular guy, and that is the head of the table, the tribal chief, Roman Reigns. And it comes down to how you present him, how you build him, and how you build him when it comes to him actually being in action. Why he's only been involved in one match since WrestleMania, since becoming the undisputed Universal Heavyweight Champion of the world. Obviously, he's going to have to compete, title or no title, I imagine, on the Big Four. It makes sense to only do title matches on the Big Four. So with the whole idea of Riddle being the next guy to challenge Roman Reigns, maybe at Money in the Bank, if they don't push this thing far out as SummerSlam goes, at this point, the Usos are literally just the standard bearers, the identities, the left and right hand of the tribal chief. As far as where the Bloodline goes from here, I'm not really sure how much further you can go in the WWE when it comes to the amount of competition you set up for Roman Reigns and the actual amount of tag teams you have to even go against the Usos in spite of standing up against the tribal chief. Whether or not those tag matches per se could lead to somebody challenging or confronting the tribal chief, like Xavier Woods and Kofi Kingston, and Xavier Woods and Kofi Kingston gets a crack at the Roman Reigns. That's a whole nother story. But honestly, the Usos at this point, You might as well just have them as tiki torches on each side of Roman Reigns. The Bloodline's about Roman Reigns at the end of the day. It's as simple as that.
Well said, Walter. You got to follow that up.
Exactly.
Real quick, to Psycho Jet Black, by the way, cannot sing Vince McMahon's Stand Back. That gets claimed to S word. So I'm not going to do that to Aaron. Anyway, continue.
It's too bad that Sammy isn't actually related to him, because I think it would have been funny to have him join the Bloodline and be their little lackey. Like, all their losses that they get can only come by Sammy.
Basically, the Disco Inferno
of the NWO. Exactly. Like, I think that would have been funny, but you got to stick it to. But in terms of what the walkout, what happened, I think Sasha had bared more of the heat. I think she has more heat on her. So why not reach out to Naomi and say, look, we're going to do this. We're going to say it's a work. They're just going to believe whatever we put out there. We kept reminding people of what happened. We'll just say it's a work. There's your opportunity to be heel, to join the Bloodline, and then we'll make you the SmackDown Women's title and you be dominant. So, like, why not go there? I mean, I know Aaron's tired and gave up on the idea of her joining, but, I mean, why not make this look like it was a work the whole time? You bring her as a singles because you don't want to sell the glowing sticks anymore and all that, and that's your way to turn her heel, because how else would she have been a heel? People are going to boo her from coming back anyways for the walkout, so there's your chance right there.
I like it. Aaron?
Let me see if we have a super chat here. Psycho Jet Black sent in a $2 super chat. He says, Jimmy wins the IC title and Jay wins the US title. They might as well at this point.
Might as well.
Yeah.
Might as well.
Although I'm still wondering if a certain somebody is going to come back and face Austin Theory, but we'll talk about that in the main event. That's a main event topic right there.
Here's another. If you're gonna just make them run through everyone. If Rock is really gonna do this match, in order to introduce Rock into it, make them dominate everybody so much they get so cocky that Rock feels like he's the only one that can stop him. And there's your story with Reign and The Rock.
I'm just worried that one of them is going to get injured. Like, we know they have a history of getting injured, and that would be a real shame if one of them got hurt.
Exactly.
But then WWE might just end up putting the titles on ice instead of crowning new champions.
But maybe that's why Reigns is taking that break. If they're going to do that match and they're going to advertise it like they did with Cena, maybe so far ahead, they're not going to risk him getting hurt. Don't have him have too many matches, and there you go.
Like I said, save Roman Reigns for the big four. Well, if you want to count Money in the Bank as 4.25, okay. And use the Usos as the guys that fight on behalf of the head of the table. And somehow out of that, find a way to build contenders, not just challengers, contenders to the Tribal Chief.
Yeah, Reigns can always say, you got to get through both of them to get to me. And he's like, you're not even worth it until you get to them first. You can have somebody run the gauntlet, beat Jimmy, beat Jay, and then finally you get to Roman.
And add Sami Zayn to the mix just for fun.
Yeah.
I don't know, man. You have so many people in that lineage. Like, you have the guy in NXT right now. Like, I would add to this. Yeah. Like, to me
right now isn't doing anything. He's not even challenging Cameron Grimes for the North American Championship and In Your House. It's
bring him up. Why not? At least if you bring him up, at least then the Intercontinental and U.S. title actually are treated as semi-important.
Yeah.
Maybe we get what we all want. Maybe there'll be a Judgment Day versus Bloodline. Go through that first. Why not?
Yeah, there you go. I'd like to
series.
Yeah.
I'll tell you this. I would like to see somebody go up against the Usos. Somebody built up really strong, a team. Maybe you could have Damian Priest pair up with a Finn Balor or an AJ Styles, whoever ends up joining the group, maybe Ciampa. But yeah, I'd like to see Judgment Day have a strong tag team and maybe eventually beat the Usos. But yeah, now the question is, which team will eventually dethrone the Usos? And I do not see any team on the horizon.
Me
quite
neither.
frankly. I think they're going to be champs for a while, but I am concerned about possible injury. And those guys go hard. They hold nothing back. And
they do go hard.
Yeah. Psycho Jet Black sent in a $2 super chat. He says, isn't Money in the Bank pay-per-view more over than Survivor Series? It kind of is at this point. Survivor Series has not felt like a big four in a very long time. But I think the issue was doing Money in the Bank and SummerSlam back to back the same month. Like that is a bit overkill.
I'll try to calm down because I'll go on a rant about Survivor Series because it's just so stupid. There's no brand pride. You do the draft. Somebody just joined Raw or just joined SmackDown. All of a sudden they have all this pride in the brand, and I'm gonna go defend it on this random Survivor. It makes no sense how they've been doing.
Where's
it.
SummerSlam at, Aaron?
What was that?
Where's SummerSlam at?
In Nashville,
Tennessee.
We care so much about the brand split.
Yeah.
But John
We care so much about the brand split that we announce it on social media 48 hours in advance.
Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
That's
Survivor
people
Series.
power.
It's become it's too watered down.
I mean, Survivor Series hasn't really felt that way to me, like really a battle of brand supremacy in the last decade plus, except for 2019 when NXT surprisingly won against the other two.
That was
the
a
last
good
time it really
Survivor
felt like where Raw and SmackDown were kind of in a handicap match against the Black and Gold too. Since then, you really haven't had that sort of, brand supremacy or even wanting to demonstrate that. I don't really see anybody right now in WWE even holding pride in just their brand. Just in WWE for a selected few, to say the least.
Especially now, you got all these undisputed champs. What are you going to do with Survivor Series? There's no champ versus champ anymore. I say go back to what they used to do, where the winners of each match end up in one big match at the end. Remember that? That's what I want to see Survivor Series go back to.
I have one for you. Here's a hot take. Instead of doing Survivor Series, why not just replace that with King in the Ring?
Might as well at this point.
Seriously. Jeez.
Let's see here. Robbie sent in a $2 super chat. There was a question earlier about where Robbie was, and Robbie says, I have a lot to get off my chest.
Uh-oh.
See you soon.
There's the Bear promo. See, he gives a promo, doesn't come for a few weeks.
He's coming, guys. Just be patient. He is coming. Now,
TikTok.
At the end of each video you do, you should just say Robbie Vice is coming soon at the end. Put that graphic
TikTok,
up until
that
he ends up
sucks. I
showing
hate
up.
All right, James, I got a request for you. Okay, I'm going to say a line, and you just say it in Vince's voice. Can you do that?
Go for it.
Okay. I was just a boy. Everybody told me.
I was just a boy, everyone told me.
William Shatner.
What should I do, and who should I be?
Who should I do? And who should I be?
Oh, who should I do?
That's what I heard.
What should I do?
What should I do?
Sorry.
Oh my gosh.
I got some advice. I finally have to say, stand back, stand back.
Oh, you have me do it.
In the weird Shatner variation, so he didn't get copyright strike.
Nice way to get around that, Aaron.
Yeah, there you go. All right,
brilliant.
Booyaka, 619.
Are we ready for
right.
for the next topic?
Yeah, we can move on now.
Bathroom break time. We're going to talk AEW. Oh, wait. Oh.
Oh.
James,
now.
so usually, unless something super, super intrigues me, I know we always have, some people on the panel that like to talk about AEW. So this is just going to be kind of like an AEW open discussion segment before we get into the main event. And James, you're a big AEW fan, right? Dynamite?
Yeah.
So you got to convince me why it's a superior product of WWE, or is there anything about AEW that's happened recently that you'd like to get off your chest? Because you got the floor, man.
Well, right. So not everything that AEW does is perfect. I'm not gonna be one of these fans and say that everything that AEW says it does is perfect. Their women's division needs probably more work right now than WWE's does. Things are not feeling as important as they should feel in that division in particular. Despite the fact that, by the way, they have like 3 world champions, by the way, and they have like a ton of talent. So it's beyond me how they screw that up. Maki Ito. Anyway, besides that, personally to me, with AEW, the reason I like it and the reason I tune into AEW is because I like all types of wrestling. And I like that AEW kind of brings in a wrestling buffet for everybody. without reviewing the show and just having like, oh, what happened this week? Like a lot of people do. You wanted me to convince you, so I'm going to try to convince you. The reason I like it is because even if you don't like one thing, you'll like another thing. There is something there for everybody, I feel like, when it comes to AEW. If you like cruiserweight wrestling, you got it in spades with AEW. You like Southern style wrestling, hello, MJF, CM Punk right now. Their program's going into Double or Nothing, or two of the top feuds going right now. Wardlow's a prime example as well. You like, I don't know, you like Joshi wrestling that's actually good, not Maki Ito. You got that. You like comedy wrestling, you got that. You like big hoss fights, you got that. You like agile big hoss fights, you got that. They don't just stick to one trope. They don't just stick to one trade. They have, I'll take a quote from my cohort over at Open Mic Night, JJ Williams. Different strokes for different folks, right? One thing you like might be something else somebody doesn't like or something like that. Mm-hmm. Although, I love how I see this comment. I was just about to say that. Even if I don't like Maki Ito, right? Somebody might, and I know a few that actually do like Maki Ito. I just realized how big of a ribber Owen Hart was, and if you put it in that context, the Maki Ito thing was fine. So, I mean, I don't know.
Can't you say everything you just said about the WWE? See, here's the disconnect.
No.
Go ahead.
Well, yeah. Why can't you? WWE they just don't.
McDonald's.
They're
AEW
what?
is like Golden Corral.
Is it though? Like WWE still, they just don't.
WWE appeals to casuals, just like McDonald's.
But they'll have their AJ Styles and their Finn Balor. Here's the thing.
So I guess the women's division is the ice cream machine. Always
WWE will. They'll have their
soft serve is out of order.
Division. WWE had an NXT. They had a cruiserweight. They've done everything AEW's done, right?
Not at the same time, though.
But they do it at the same time. Like, what do you mean AEW does it at the same time? Here's the difference. The AEW does not appeal to everybody. They appeal to the diehard wrestling fans only. And that's why Tony Khan makes himself accessible to fans and comes out and greets them, because he wants their respect. So he's one of them. He's a mark. He's a fan. And to me, it's cool for the people that like it. Okay. To me, WWE is cool to casuals. So there we go. WWE can't.
They are WWE.
WWE has AJ Styles, Finn Balor, right? Seth Rollins. They have workers. They had Daniel Bryan for the longest time. But just because they don't showcase that and shove that version down everybody's throats like AEW, WWE does everything that James just said to me. The only difference is they present themselves as a professional company with a boss that's a head of a corporation that has stock versus a boss that's a billionaire who gets it from his daddy. Tony Khan made no dime in his life. He got it all from daddy, who is awesome at business. If you
all right. Okay.
Tony Khan did not make any money in his life.
Tony Khan made AEW a profitable organization. What do you mean?
It's in the red.
How do you guys know this?
It's in the red because of the video game.
It's in the red. You just said it's in the red. That's what I'm saying.
Hold on. Yes, they're in the red because of the video game. Right now, yes. They weren't in the red before the video game was announced.
They're in the red.
I think I know what your Twitter spat was
doing
about
stadium events.
Okay, hold on.
I didn't know you guys had access to a private company's books.
I do not have access. However, all right, let me just put this in perspective as well.
If they were profitable,
we want to talk about private companies
there, and that's how I know they're in the red. I work for a business. I'm an actuary. Okay.
Oh.
So they're a private business that doesn't share their profits because they're not profiting, right? But anyway, go ahead, James. Go ahead.
Hold on. They while I don't know their financials, we also don't know the ratings, and I feel like this is part of the freaking problem. Everybody, and this is to WWE too. I'm actually going to defend both companies when I say this. The problem comes down to we are judging all of this talk about AEW not being as successful as WWE is from a rating standpoint because of Nielsen. When Nielsen has been out of date for I don't even know how long.
20 years
So,
plus.
I mean, give me a break. Like,
I don't even
who
care
owns a
about
Nielsen
ratings.
box?
Look
Right,
at
who owns the
revenue.
Nielsen
Look at
box?
global reach. Like,
Oh,
it's
no,
not
no.
even about ratings. Look,
Well, here's
what
the-
I'm suggesting is AEW needs to never be compared to WWE. If
Thank
it
you.
one day, we talked about this privately earlier. If one day it gets that big, because if Tony Khan is this big business guru like his dad is, and he can make it, right? Vince McMahon didn't have WWE big in the 80s when he got it from his dad. He grew it into that. But if AEW gets that down the road, I'm going to be like, here we go. Now we can compare these two. This is our problem. These should never be compared. AEW fans should enjoy their product. WWE fans should enjoy theirs. And I'm guilty of this, but I get caught up in the crossfires of seeing the people out there that are comparing the two. And that's when my mind goes nuts. Just because I've watched WWE way longer than AEW. So naturally, I defend them because I need AEW to earn my trust as a fan. That's why I think I'm like the way I am against AEW.
Yeah.
They haven't proven it to me yet. There's glimpses.
Right.
Go ahead.
I'm the opposite of you. I've like WWE has to really earn my trust, and AEW hasn't failed me yet.
And WWE's got a lot of shitty stuff. I'm not denying that.
Yeah.
But
And by the way,
I think AEW does too.
Mr. Tito, tell me the last time TNA had $1 million gate. I'll wait for that.
Yeah, right. Yeah, unfortunately. I mean, why? Don't even bring TNA into this discussion. And I like their product, by the way.
And look, AEW is doing these pay-per-views, getting 150,000 buys. Great. I mean, absolutely great. WWE in their heyday was, they had a lot of pay-per-views with around that, but they also had 500, 600, 800 WrestleMania, almost 1 million how many buys?
Well, all right. So
AEW is like 150,000 buys.
AEW is starting to get
now.
too dependent on
They-
ex-WWE
180.
wrestlers.
That was
Right.
a fart in church for WWE buys when WWE was hot in the pay-per-view scene back in the day. Like, so we just can't compare.
I'm not comparing, but I'm saying AEW is a lot more successful than people give it credit for. I'm not saying they're at
Well, they got a
level
TV
of
deal,
success.
that's for sure, and they're
Well-
selling like in wrestling towns. They're selling out. That's I'm
No
not
doubt.
gonna deny that.
But here's one thing that I want to also
We
bring
do
up.
got to pass it over to Noah next soon. So.
Yeah. Noah, you can go after me.
Don't worry, you're fine.
The
You
one
already know where I
thing-
stand. Both of
The
you
one
do.
thing that I have, this is one piece of information I do have. I'm not going to reveal the source, but I actually do have, similar to you, Virtue. I actually know somebody in the field you're in. There is the deal that AEW just got with Sky Italia, like a year ago or something. WWE left the network for BT Sport. AEW came in, swooped in, said you only have to pay us half the price you were paying WWE, and they're getting bigger ratings than they were in Italy than they were than WWE were. So that does say something there. I'm not saying, again, like, obviously if we're talking global reach, I mean WWE is going to kill them in spades, but when it comes to AEW and their global viewership, I don't think it's as one-sided as people think there are. Nielsen, as I said, has been out of date, and the reason I know this now for a fact is I was listening to an interview with Brian Quinn from Impractical Jokers. He said their rating was 7.2 million people, and that was globally, and 3.5 million of those people were domestic in this country. So I don't know about AEW, but that tells me a lot when you look at the Nielsen rating for Practical Jokers and compare it to what they're actually getting domestically in this country with the advent of streaming and all that stuff. So I think a lot of people jump the gun on AEW as far as their success goes. That's just my point.
Yeah, they got a lot of room to grow. That's basically, and when I see them getting compared like they're better, this and that, I get it. They appeal to that fan base, and they're giving that fan base what they want. That fan base is so behind, and not everybody, Noah. I know some of the fans have the logic. But that fan base gets so behind that idea they're putting them like they're better than WWE in every way. They're going to be bigger. Prove it. Noah, we chatted a little bit about this before, and my stance on this really is let's just not compare these two companies.
I don't compare
Let's stop comparing them. What do you think?
I don't believe in that. This whole idea that social media is defined by you take a side, or you are a tribalist, or you are anti-hero, you are the villain because you disagree with my perspective. You don't watch what I watch. No two people are the same. No two wrestling industries are the same. Pick what you like based on preference, based on appeal, based on the action, based on storytelling, based on presentation. Whatever floats your boat. You're not one to decide what I choose to do versus what you choose to do. And what I choose to say doesn't necessarily make it any better or any worse than what somebody else says. At the end of the day, I just enjoy life and enjoy wrestling. I don't think there is a comparison game. There's optimism in hoping that the company thrives and grows. And for 3 years, AEW has done some great stuff. WWE constantly does what they need to do to keep up, be in the juggernaut that they are too. Apples to oranges, as far as I'm concerned, we're just trying to compare stuff. But there's a reason why people don't say an orange tastes like an apple tastes like an orange. But people can like both. Why can't you do the same for professional wrestling? As far as I'm concerned, I enjoy WWE, NXT UK particularly more than any other brand in that company. I enjoy AEW. I watch wrestling 6 days a week, but not limited to NWA, Stardom, Impact Wrestling. You put in a wrestling company name here, I probably have seen at some point on YouTube or some sort of snippet idea of what it represents on Twitter. The fact of the matter is that Twitter's become this closed-minded community of two sides at the forefront. It's what's degrading and bringing down the industry, and I feel the fan population too. Just enjoy wrestling and enjoy what you wish. You don't have to be criticized for it too.
Take Samoa Joe's advice.
Yeah, Samoa Joe recently talked about in an interview this whole idea, all these words, all these, superlatives, all this supremacy type mindsets that people believe that is the gospel of the industry. It's total bullcrap.
Said it, Noah. Aaron, were you going to say something?
I was just saying to Noah if he's watched Defy in Seattle.
I have watched Defy. I haven't.
There's a
watched
reason that I knew before AEW was a thing. A couple of names that you see now, including Darby Allin. A lot of the names that I know in AEW came from just simply browsing stuff on YouTube because I just watch and enjoy wrestling. Rev Pro, Beyond, you name it, I've seen it. GCW even. There's something for everybody, and not necessarily one is particularly better than the other. They're just different.
That's how I came into TNA. I mean, I'll admit it. I'm older than a lot of people. I used to have a scrambler, and I was flipping through channels, saw a pay-per-view. I thought it was a movie. I saw women dancing in a cage. I thought, what the hell is this? Yeah, there was women dancing. When TNA first came out, they used to only be on pay-per-views, and there was like women dancing in the cage, and then I saw a wrestling ring. What the hell kind of movie is this? I was like, is this a Ready to Rumble sequel? I was like, what the hell is this? And
anybody remember when Rob got topless at the TNA pay-per-view?
I do remember. I have one for you. How about the fact that New Jack actually teamed with Shark Boy? That was hilarious. That's goated times, man. That will always be goated times to me.
There's an episode where Raven got scalped by Father James Mitchell.
Father James Mitchell. And again, see what I'm talking about? We're literally just having fun moments here, talking about other things in wrestling. We're talking about TNA, now known as Impact Wrestling. Again, there's something for everybody to just enjoy. So just enjoy wrestling.
I agree. To each their own. If you enjoy one, enjoy it. If you enjoy the other, if you enjoy both, I enjoy competition, and hopefully one of them, AEW, can become so competitive where WWE has to do something to compete. It's like with WCW back in the, I hope they get to the level, not in failure, but I hope AEW can get to that level where, like, when Raw was on commercial, I flipped to Nitro. And when Nitro was on commercial, I flipped back to Raw. It was like I kept back and forth. And hopefully AEW can get to that. It's just not there yet.
Well, also, you got to consider how many more other distractions there are nowadays, too, when you almost feel like that people are trying to dictate the wrestling industry by the internet, too. And that might be another thing that plays in the factor heavily, too. But at the end of the day, like I said, I just pick and choose.
I remember missing a Raw and getting so pissed, but now I can miss a Dynamite. I can miss a Rampage, and it doesn't affect me. But
literally, you can watch them at any time. I'm going to watch Impact Wrestling once we're done here.
Yeah.
Another thing that rubs me the wrong way is AEW, like Tony Khan and like the dirt sheets that like Meltzer that all they focus on is positives and they can't take criticism, but yet they can go and bash WWE for its faults. I just hate that because they're playing to that crowd, their audience. And to me, if you're going to call yourself a journalist, be fair to both sides.
You
like,
seem butthurt because
be unbiased.
Get 5 stars.
Because what? I don't care about 5 stars, to be honest
I
with
think
you.
you do.
Like the greatest match in the history of wrestling got negative stars by Dave Meltzer, Andre the Giant, and Hulk Hogan. So that's just kind of how wrestling works, and that's the business. Not because Dave Meltzer thinks he knows wrestling moves and sequences. And he even claimed once that he wrote a Brian Pillman match, and Brian Pillman did it exactly like Dave Meltzer can. Can you believe that? Yeah.
No.
Dave Meltzer once said that
jealous.
Brian Pillman wrestled a match that he choreographed.
You're
Yeah.
jealous that
Anyways,
Meltzer
Walter,
kind of-
anything else you want to add? I'll pass it over to Aaron.
My only issue with AEW is that they became too reliant on all the ex-WWE. They were signing too many people too close together. It's like one person made a debut, then another, and they never let you get behind this person. It's like I almost forgot certain people were in the company. Like I don't even think Keith Lee is getting the push he was getting anymore. Then Johnny Nitro, whatever you want to call him, pops out of nowhere. It's like they're doing too much. And then the open door, they got the Japanese. I guess they're trying to go global to get a Japanese viewing audience.
They just got a multi-year streaming deal with New Japan World, actually.
Yeah, but you're doing too much, and you're not getting behind your homegrown talent. Let them rise. Let us become fans of this person. Let us become fans of that. It's like you clip them before you get the. It's like you kick their shoes out from under their legs out from under them, their leg from out of their leg, as Owen Hart said. From under their leg.
I don't know, man. They're pushing like 5 young guys right now, and they're like the main focus on the program almost every week.
Yeah, I understand, but like to me, Punk lost heat to me for a while. Like I almost forgot about Punk for a little while. Like he was so over when he first came out, and then it's just like then this person came out, then Bryan Danielson came out, then it was like
we talked.
It
about
was like
that
last
week,
Punk's
but you
there.
weren't. Yeah, you weren't on the show, but.
Yeah.
All right, Aaron Rift, anything you want to add to this? Any super chats? And then we will talk about the main event.
We do have a few super chats. To respond to Justin, well, you really would not have liked the Monday Night War then because they were taking shots at
That's
each
what
other.
that was all about.
Every
That's
week
all that
it was.
was.
Every week.
Watch Wrestling Bios. He'll tell you.
WWE did it. They mentioned that Miz was mentioned on the other company.
They still do it.
What you do it, yeah. They still do it.
WWE or WCW got themselves up to that level of WWE. Then it happened. Like I'm okay with that. Like juggernauts go after each other in the world of business, and that to me is expected. But you have to be at that. Sega and Nintendo did it in the early '90s, and
there you go.
Nintendo won.
That's when I.
You know what I mean? Yeah.
Aaron.
Competition breeds progression, and that's really all you should hope that comes out of that.
Right.
That's what I hope. That AEW becomes so competitive where WWE has to change their way and become better too. It'll only be beneficial for both products.
Again, though, I think we're not going to know how competitive AEW truly is until we get a clearer, definitive ratings. And that's for both companies.
Also, I think
that's my deal.
I think once the TV renewals come, we can get a better idea of where
that's true.
Stands business wise. If they get
or if they become public, we'll know more. If they start sharing shares.
If Tony Khan can ink a streaming deal, I'll be impressed. Like, and I mean a streaming deal, like an app that millions and millions of people have.
Like a Netflix, like if they're on Netflix or something, yeah.
Or HBO Max or like WWE's with Peacock, even though it's shitty. Peacock, I mean, WWE's doing good numbers for them. That has been a good investment for NBC Universal so far. WWE is pulling in numbers for Peacock.
The other thing AEW does is, Robbie Weiss said it down there. They just disappear for weeks at a time with like no explanation. You all of a sudden see somebody and then like wasn't Ruby Soho supposed to be like the next big thing? Like what the hell happened to her all of a sudden?
I think that was more an assumption, Walter. And Ruby Soho, she's been always having like her place in AEW, doing her own thing. A lot of those people in AEW, you gotta remember, they're individually like micromanaged. So what they're not doing AEW, they could be doing stuff other else. If AEW, you have more freedom with what you do with your wrestling career in and out of the ring.
That is true. Yeah, that
And that's
that
just the
is
way
true.
that AEW has set up those contracts. And again, it's just, apples to oranges. This company does this company does that. It doesn't necessarily mean one's making a better or worse approach than the other. Everybody has their faults, but everyone has a different perspective too.
Yeah,
All
that's true.
You guys ready for a few super chats?
Yep.
Let's go.
All right, let's get to it. Okay, so first one comes from Psycho Jet Black. He says WWE Hollywood while AEW is Broadway. Well, that is fine.
Both can be enjoyable.
Yeah, exactly.
There you
I mean,
Hey,
that's
I was a
totally
big fan of Lion King,
valid
the
comment.
movie, and Lion King on Broadway. So
Well, there you
Isn't
go.
Lion King on Broadway like still the most
the
seen
most
or-
number one. Yeah, exactly.
That's what I thought.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So there you go.
And you can't even get them tickets are. Whew.
All right, we got one here from Psycho Jet Black. I cannot answer this one. Maybe one of you can. Isn't Shad Khan a terrible CEO for the Jaguars?
Yes. No, I can tell you for a fact he is. Yes.
He is a CEO in the automotive industry, and that's how he's a billionaire. And billionaires like owning sports teams just to do it. So he doesn't. You're right. He doesn't care about the football team because he makes his billions in the automotive industry. I think plastic molding and plastic this and stuff that goes into cars. That's what Shad Khan does.
Oh,
Yeah.
Interesting.
all right. And Mr. Tito sent in a $2 super chat. Says, "Better Call Saul greater than pro wrestling." Am I right, Aaron?
I can tell you one thing. Snowpiercer sucks compared to all of them.
What did you call it, James? Game of Thrones on a train?
That's all it is. That's all Snowpiercer ever was. I think AEW has a better chance of getting a TV renewal than Snowpiercer does. That's for damn sure.
All right.
Anyway, I agree with Mr. Tito on that one. Better Call Saul this week was S tier entertainment as far as I'm concerned. Anyways, moving on here. Psycho Jet Black says, "Better songs, Stand Back or American Males?" I say American Males, but what do you guys think?
American Back. Wow.
I'm trying to think how American Males goes, if I'm honest with you.
I can tell you, American males. That's all.
Was that
it
a theme song to a television show?
No, that was the American males tag team theme. It's
I guess Stand Back just because of
remember that
the old Vince video, but without that, I don't know.
Oh my god!
Hey,
It wasn't for DX
Mark
2006.
Camera is in the chat. Aaron, Mark Camera is in the chat.
Oh,
All right, I guess it's time for the main event.
Oh God,
perfect
I don't
segue.
want to see John Cena come back. That's the main event. Mark Mo Camera just brought it up. John Cena, should he come back for a mini run? We know he's in Hollywood now, but you know how hey, he's supposed to be loyal to WWE. Remember when he was feuding with The Rock and he was always going to be there, like when The Rock was in Hollywood, and here we are, Cena's doing the same thing. I almost feel like, and The Rock came back to work with Cena for a couple of WrestleManias. I think Cena should feel obligated, and he came back against Roman Reigns for a little stint last summer. And let's face it, he probably will come back to do some things here and there. Should it be an Austin Theory? Let's put somebody young over. James, what do you think here? John Cena, there's always that threat to come back and be 17-time champ. I think he's past that because of what happened with Roman Reigns. To me, they're just not going to pull that trigger. But you can use him maybe to push some younger talent. What do you think?
Him and Austin Theory is the only thing that makes sense. So if you're not doing that, what are we doing here?
Dude, listen. That was cool when John Cena did the U.S. Open Challenge, U.S. Title Open Challenge.
Right? Yeah.
Would that not be something if Austin Theory started doing that, and then next thing you know, John Cena accepted a challenge out of nowhere? That, to me, is what WWE just doesn't do anymore. Cool stuff like that.
there you
I
go.
thought they were going to do that with Ronda when she did that first Open Challenge. I'm like, why not just keep that up every week? And then the next week she wasn't even on the show.
Because they only have 6 other women that could literally challenge her for that title right now on SmackDown because the other 2 are in a tag team.
Yep.
Well, James, if they don't have Taker coming back now and doing these things, like Cena's now, and you have Lesnar who's already kind of been back, who's your veteran? Because they love bringing those veterans back. Like they did Stone Cold at WrestleMania, but I feel like Cena's kind of gonna have to be that once in a blue moon special attraction, right? We're running out of them.
Well, he's Mr. SummerSlam, and that's the only time you're getting him, apparently.
Well, that's still, but there you go. Why not? If his schedule is for that, why not?
Yeah, well,
but you got to build new stars with him. That's the thing.
Well, that's the thing. Yeah, like who are you going to build that makes sense to pair with them? The only person that comes to mind right now is him and Theory, because Theory is the protege of Vince McMahon, and Cena was the golden child of Vince. So that's the only thing that makes sense to me. I don't know who else you could put him with other than Theory. So I don't know. It really is hard because maybe Cody, but even then it's like.
But if you want to build Cody to the top level of the championships, bring Cena back, have him beat Cena. Boom! Now Cody.
Well, Cody is the next Cena without question. I'm convinced at this point, actually. And I wouldn't have been until he started, saying outlandish crap and getting away with it, like saying, "Oh, my favorite band's Our Lady Peace" in a freaking Stone Cold interview. So that's how you know he's untouchable. Like I thought he was untouchable when he started saying belt and wrestler on WWE programming, but now I know he's untouchable if he's mentioning Our Lady Peace and nobody's even dealing with that.
He's even mentioning bringing the Wing Ingle title back.
Yeah,
he's up there.
Yeah, he mentioned that, and he did say Ocarina of Time is the best Zelda game, and I know Virtue agrees with him on that. So what the popular opinion is.
Well, statistically, it still is. It's got the highest rating of all time. So even though Breath of the Wild is a vastly superior game technologically because of the time that it was.
I was going to say Breath of the Wild,
and the technology that was available. But Cody had some great tastes on that. He also brought in the Maverick for his favorite roller coaster, which is the Cedar Point. But we're not talking about Cody. We've talked about him already. We're talking about John Cena should come back. So Noah Foster, what do you think?
It's hard because I don't want to be so one-dimensional to pigeonhole John Cena. Why he should put over a young star. He is synonymous with the United States Championship, and that definitely would raise the star power of Austin Theory. I think about maybe SmackDown using him in a way to build somebody there. Maybe not necessarily a young person, but somebody that truly could be. Because if you go over John Cena, that is going to raise your stock in the WWE. Bad or good, regardless. You're
Here's
going
a
to
name
be
for you, Noah. Gable Steveson.
I was thinking about Gable Steveson. If he could show up on SmackDown, you'd be the opposite to the whole Kurt Angle, John Cena type thing that happened in his debut. I mean, I was thinking maybe out of the blue, maybe he somehow goes after the Intercontinental Championship, figures out some of Ricochet. He's never faced Ricochet one-on-one, or even Walter per se. Maybe Walter and Cena could have some sort of program, since all Walter has been doing is bashing Drew Gulak. I just feel that John Cena definitely should come back to push for the future in somebody that's going to be around in the long haul for WWE too, and that Vince McMahon can definitely use. So whether it's Austin Theory, whether it's Walter, or hey, maybe Ricochet could finally get some stock in himself too, or dare I say even crazier things than this, goes down to NXT 2.0 and build someone else there. John Cena should be used to definitely develop future talent for the WWE, but I don't think you should just pigeonhole Austin Theory. Maybe do that as a first step and then go from there. I wouldn't mind seeing
Riddle. We were talking about Riddle earlier. You want to make Riddle a big star, put him over Cena.
Yeah, that's true. I don't think Riddle and Cena really have had any interaction as well. So there's that. That would be a whole different way to go about the Riddle thing too, and keeps away from Roman Reigns. So you save the Roman Reigns and the Riddle thing for something bigger, Big Four per se. So
you bring back a couple of part-timers. You make Riddle beat Orton. You make Riddle beat Cena. You make him beat somebody else. How about he's the new legend killer?
No, I mean, hey, he says Randy Orton is his friend. I idolize him. Why not literally take his trademarks and further that idea?
Mo Camera stating the obvious of the wrestling business. When you get to the top, you're able to politic and stay to the top. It's the history of the wrestling business, bro. Hey, I like what you said about Walter, except this time Walter, unlike Rusev, Walter would have to go over Cena so Cena could finally elevate somebody. Remember? Not only did Cena bury Rusev once, he did it again down the road later.
That was such a waste of an awesome entrance with the tank and everything. It's like, really?
Yeah, you ain't kidding.
Mr. America reincarnated at WrestleMania 31. I remember.
By the way, the hot take, because a lot of people say, "Oh, I like Darby's title run or Cody's title run." No, my favorite's Miro all the way with the TNT title. No question.
Not Sammy Guevara's multiple title reigns.
No.
You didn't like.
Although I didn't mind it.
He had a little moment with the title with Ty Conti.
I was shocked that Cena was willing to do a squash match with Taker at WrestleMania. He got beaten 10 seconds or whatever the heck it was. That shocked me.
It's Undertaker at WrestleMania. The moment was more than enough versus the payday, which obviously he got paid for it too.
Yep.
By the way, I did not mind the passing back and forth of the TNT title because they don't do that often,
Right?
Like in AEW. So like I was able to talk it because WWE does it all the time with the hot potato of every title that isn't whatever Roman Reigns or the Usos are holding. So it's like, you know, or at least it feels like that, you know, from a distance. And then AEW, they do it with the TNT title, and then everybody loses their mind. And I had to, you know, put everything in perspective. It's like, hey, everyone, just because it happens on WWE doesn't mean AEW does this often.
Exactly. Again, apples to oranges.
All right, Walter, what's your take here on John Cena?
I think Cena's on that nostalgia level, and people like nostalgia. Like I popped when he came back a couple years ago as the Doctor of Thugonomics. I popped for that, and I think at least he don't come back as Super Cena and doesn't get that crazy run where he's beating everybody. I'm cool with him. You know, it's pain to say that it pains me to say it because I'm not the biggest Cena fan, but he's a legend of the sport. He's a legend of the last 20 years or so. Or 15 years or whatever it was. And if you're going to bring him back to put younger people over, I say do it. Who are we to say he can't do it?
Right.
He knows how to hype a match.
Yes, he does. He knows how to sell.
Cena knows how to hype a match. He's got the mic skills. Why not?
Aaron Riff.
As long as he's not super shredder Cena where you can't beat him.
Yeah.
He's
past that. He's past that now. But we got to know he could still win, though. That's the thing. I don't want him to come back and he's coming back just to put someone over because then that loses its flavor as well.
Right.
Yeah.
You got to have a long-term program.
You got to have a balance with it.
They did that with Van Dam when he came back in 2014, 2013, whenever it was.
I would love to have seen it when NXT was black and yellow and it was that brand. If Cena could have went down there, it puts one of them over before they went to the main roster. That would have been awesome.
Fun fact, he actually did.
Crazy.
He actually did. Before it was on the network, he actually went down there to put people over. He's the reason why Enzo and Cass got called up to the main roster because he was so high on him.
Oh, all right.
So fun fact for you.
LA Knight versus John Cena would be an interesting program. There you go. Build somebody out of him.
Who was it? What'd you say?
LA Knight.
Right. Yeah. Okay.
What's his new name?
I'm not mentioning that because that name sucks.
Max Dupree.
I know it was Dupree.
Max Dupree. I totally blanked out on that.
It'll be Max at some point once Vince realizes he had a Rene Dupree on his roster in the past, even though it's spelled different. So at some point he's going to be called just Max.
I was going to
say,
go ahead.
Up or down on how many months it'll take for him to drop a name? Let's say less than 3 months.
Probably. His name. Well, I thought he called him Max Dupree because of what do you call it? Rene Dupree did a shooter interview with Paul London not too long ago. So,
I think it'll get pulled from TV before they change the name.
Yeah,
probably.
You're not wrong.
Possibly released.
I wonder who's going to be in his group or whatever he said that he already has somebody, right?
Mace.
Dominic Dijakovic, I believe, is currently in it.
No, Mace's and Mansoor was in it.
Mansoor, really?
Yeah.
I'm fine. Mansoor should actually be pushed on TV way more than he is because he's actually really.
I'm surprised they haven't done a program with him and Veer, honestly.
Well,
I can't believe they made a big deal of how he's undefeated in Saudi Arabia and then they just chopped him out. They beat his ass.
That's all they book him for. Is he's the token Saudi Arabia kid?
Not anymore. He lost.
Do more with him.
Yeah, but whatever keeps the prince happy, keeps
One
that
of these
blood
days,
money.
we're going to talk about Veer, but like one of these days, we'll keep. Maybe when Robbie's back on the show.
I was gonna say maybe that's when Robbie would come back. I
Aaron,
was just gonna say
anything you want to add to this? Any other super chats came in because we're getting close to our time.
Walter?
Sorry.
Anything else you got to add?
No, go ahead.
Okay. I do think we will see John Cena back fairly soon. I think that he will have a match with Austin Theory. It's just a matter of when. SummerSlam seems like the most likely venue for that match to happen, United States title. And yeah, maybe it could work out where Cena wins the title. I'm sure Mo Camera would not be happy with that, but I think you could have Cena win the title, and then maybe you could do a rematch. I know WWE loves the rematches. They could do a rematch at the Clash at the Castle premium live event. Austin Theory wins back the title, and then John Cena goes his merry way. You could just do like a 2 premium live event program with them, and Theory gets the rub from Cena. I say go for it. I'm all for it. And I think it's a pretty likely scenario. I think John Cena will be back fairly soon in WWE to celebrate his 20th anniversary since debuting with the company.
If he does win the U.S. title, I say bring back that U.S. Open Challenge. Bring it back.
If we're not doing like the whole brand thing as far as storyline goes, have John Cena at times, maybe not every week, back to back, go on Raw, go on SmackDown, bring out the Open Challenge, and bring us an identity of somebody that could thrive maybe in the WWE.
Problem with that is, as Mo Camera said, that would just be a rerun.
Yeah, pretty much.
It wouldn't be the first time WWE did it, though. I'm just saying, how many times have they retconned something?
Very
That's
true.
fair.
Maybe
Now-
Cena
now-
would be part
now,
of some
Aaron.
random team that they put together and who have a tag team title run.
He could even go down to NXT 2.0 since we've seen how
Yeah.
much NXT 2.0 is coming to play over on SmackDown. He could try and put over Von Wagner, I guess. I don't know.
Oh my
Or
God!
Braun Breaker
don't
versus
put his name
Cena.
up there.
Braun-
No,
I'm kidding
Braun
about
Breaker
Von
versus-
Wagner.
No
I'm kidding about
Von
Von
Wagner.
Wagner. Relax,
No
gentlemen.
Von
I'm more so
Wagner.
thinking
No.
about Braun Breaker and John Cena tagging
that's
together
what I was
against
gonna say.
some 2 people would be interesting. Actually,
I'd
Still
actually be
didn't remember
interested in that, or him
Yeah.
fighting Braun Baker would be interesting.
Exactly.
Braun Breaker
Now,
versus John
Aaron.
Cena.
Now,
All right.
Aaron, I have to ask this at least once. With John Cena returning for SummerSlam, where on the scale on the likely meter is that to happen? Is it all or is it low?
I think the odds are pretty good of it happening. I certainly think that Theory wants the match. He's even teased it, and to me, that's the match that makes sense.
I can see John Cena going against Butch for Pete Dunne. I mean, there's possibilities of John Cena.
Is the rumor
does come back.
rumor a run or just SummerSlam alone?
And think
Kinda
about
like what he did with Roman last year.
think about
of
this
one
too.
match program.
We talked earlier about Money in the Bank having to be moved to the MGM Grand. SummerSlam is one of their key shows, and the ticket sales are better for SummerSlam, but still not great. I think they have under 30,000 tickets out for SummerSlam. You got to get John Cena on that card.
Yeah,
and last year, Cena made a difference. When they announced Cena for SummerSlam last year, there was a noticeable uptick in sales.
Because John Cena sells, even if his SummerSlam record is atrocious.
Well, and he's gaining a new audience beyond wrestling too. The people that came about liking him from all of his movies and Peacemaker and all that.
Sure.
They might jump over to see this guy wrestle now.
Absolutely.
Sure.
See, I think if Cena is available, he will be at SummerSlam against Austin Theory. And Psycho Jet Black sent in a $2 super chat, says, "How about John Cena versus Pat McAfee?"
I would love that. I you know what?
That would be money.
Pat
would be
would make
Here's
that so
another
much
money
fun.
thing. You bring up Pat McAfee. Here's a money program that I have for you. I'd love to see. Tell me this isn't for Mania. They should totally do this. How do you not, when you have 2 men on the same roster, do former Canadian Football League player Roman Reigns versus former National Football League player Pat McAfee in the same ring for the WWE
Aaron and I have already
Universal
talked
title
about that.
with
Mhm.
Tom Brady as the special guest referee?
I
McAfee-
said
that writes itself.
McAfee's proved that he can face anybody in a big match.
Yeah, I said this after WrestleMania. I said that after that reaction he got at WrestleMania,
Yeah.
they could do him versus Roman Reigns in a stadium.
Yep.
People would buy tickets for that.
You know what else I would
agree.
see? I'd pay to see, but Brock Lesnar versus Pat McAfee.
I would too.
And if you do that, you got to
play
go
with
all
Pat
out
McAfee.
like the old. You got to go all out like the old WrestleMania. You got to have a special guest timekeeper. You got to do all that if you're gonna do Pat McAfee versus Roman or versus.
I agree.
Go all out.
Yep.
All right, Aaron. Any other thoughts on this super chats? What do you got?
Think we're caught up, and yeah, we'll see what happens with John Cena. But I think unless he's extremely busy, he'll be back and he'll help out WWE fill out the Nissan Stadium for SummerSlam, because they really don't want to have to cancel their plans to do SummerSlam in a stadium after Money in the Bank. So I think they're really going to put a lot of focus into SummerSlam and having the big guns show up for that premium live event.
That would be a shocker to me. But if John Cena's only coming for one match program, it's got to be Austin Fury.
Yeah,
I think so. Yeah.
As long as he just
like I said,
as long as he doesn't do that stupid punch, I'm good.
Theory said the U.S. Open title thing, and then he's mowing through people, and then one day on Raw, Cena comes out, and next thing you know, he accepts it, but makes a challenge for SummerSlam.
Perfect.
I mean, it's written right there, simple, easy peasy. All right,
That is a perfect way to do it.
Are we going around doing our plugs?
Yep. Let's go ahead and do it.
James, great to have you on. We did get into some little heated discussion with AEW. We knew it was going to happen. Do your plugs, man.
Appreciate it, man. You guys can check out For the Win Productions. We got 4 different channels where you could catch all of this content on. Casey's channel, Noah's channel, Owen's channel, and my channel, all under that umbrella. We talk about wrestling, gaming, other types of content, and everything in between. You want to check any of those out, go ahead and do so. Also, check out the biggest thing in For the Win Productions at the moment, Weymouth Youth Wrestling. It's a CAW wrestling league. If you were a fan of NoDQ CAW from back in the day, I guarantee you will love Weymouth Youth Wrestling. We actually had an 8-hour Immortal stream around the same time of WrestleMania 35. Check that out. It's actually almost at 3,000 views right now. Get those views up. We'd really appreciate it. And that's what I got to plug.
Cool. Good having you on.
Yeah.
And as always, Noah Foster, great having you here, man.
It's always a pleasure. Anytime I can do it, I'm happy to be a part of it. Folks, you want to know more about me? Know this. I am just a simple man and a lifelong fan of professional wrestling. Damn it. But I digress. So find me on Instagram, Twitter, and YouTube, and Foster 1916. But also on the Jeff Meacham Network, where, of course, we'll be having open mic night. Also across Jay Hubert's channel and, of course, the Renegade. And also this coming weekend, we will have full coverage of Double or Nothing, preview, predictions, and me and James will be doing live commentary. So stay tuned for more on that. And as always, I'd like to conclude, there are no winners, no losers, no bettors, just fans with opinions for this passion we all share. At the end of the day, folks, support one another, respect each other, and just enjoy life and enjoy professional wrestling. And see me around the Daily Slam, too, talking all things AEW with Cindy G. Simple as that.
All right. Thanks for being on. And, of course, Walter Cruz making his return this week.
Noah's the simple man. I'm the simple follow, as I say. It's just the Twitter at Walter Alex Cruz.
Ooh, I'm sorry. That's my shirt. I don't know why you showed that.
Because I'm virtue number 2.
Virtue number
No, you can get that at nodq.com/merch. All right, Aaron.
We're still waiting on Hamp. We owed you a shirt, and you never emailed Aaron. I don't know what's going on with that.
Hamp isn't even here, so what's up with that?
Mm-hmm.
Psycho sent in a $2 super chat. Little overtime here. Says John Cena versus Jeff Jarrett, Mr. WWE versus Mr. GFW.
No!
He's just trolling at that point because I don't even want to respond to that.
No, it's Mr. Progress now. What are you talking about?
Hey, Jeff Jarrett's going to be on the Broken Skull Sessions. It'll be interesting to see if they bring up 1999.
That's going to be interesting.
It'll be interesting if Stone Cold and Jeff Jarrett break out a sing-along of With My Baby Tonight.
Or they'll fight with guitars. They'll do guitar spots in the middle of the studio.
You need
powder.
You need Road
Powder
Dogg
up the
for that. For if they're gonna sing that, you need Road Dogg.
Yeah, you
Oh,
gotta
that's
have
true.
Road Dogg.
All right, what do we got, Aaron? All
Maybe
set?
they'll have Jeff Jarrett name his favorite Legend of Zelda game. By the way, I still like Link to the Past the best. That's my all-time favorite. I like the old school overhead Zelda game.
You got to give credit to the original too. No one mentions the original.
Originals
Yeah.
are great.
Yeah. Come
That-
on, it
I've only
came with
played-
the
I've only
gold.
played
It was a
Breath of the Wild,
gold
so I know
cassette.
nothing.
Like
I'm a
I
Super
was like
Mario.
6, and it came with the gold cassette, and then Nintendo was like, it looked like the greatest thing ever.
It's out of my element, man. I'm a Super Mario kid. Super Mario World all day, every day.
Sonic guy. I'm a Sonic guy. I was Team Sega.
I like all of them.
I do too.
I like
There you
them all,
go.
too. I like them all too.
Literally.
All right, so thank you guys very much for tuning in tonight. We appreciate it. A pleasure to have you on, James, and you're more than welcome to be back for more
Absolutely.
review episodes. We'll put you in the official group now that you're a no DQ review analyst. And that's it, everybody. And R.I.P. Ray, great actor, as Virtue said on
Yeah,
Facebook.
really.
He's done a lot of stuff, a lot of movies out there, not just Goodfellas. So check out his other projects.
That came
Really
out of
rest in
nowhere
peace,
because I
man.
didn't hear he was sick or anything. He just went to sleep and
67.
boom.
Yep,
Yeah.
crazy.
Yeah.
Unbelievable.
So Virtue, that's it. We're caught up.
Follow me on Twitter if you dare at NoDQ_virtue. And of course, go to NoDQ.com/merch to check out the latest t-shirts. And there's still some over on Pro Wrestling Tees as well. For James, for Noah Foster, for Walter Cruz, and for Aaron Rift, I am Virtue. This has been the NoDQ review number 189, and we're getting closer to number 200. And we will see you again next time.
Robbie is coming.
TikTok.
You have to make it. You have to make it.